So today's session is going to be a little different for us. It's going to be in an interview type of format, which is somewhat different from our usual presentations. My name is Lori Kelly. I'm the Provincial Coordinator, Program Operations of the Alzheimer's Society, and I'm today's host. Usually you just hear me in the background, but for those of you, hello, I am actually here in person today. Well, kind of in person. I guess we're all here virtually. As I mentioned, because of the number of people, I will be muting people. But I really encourage you to have your chat box open, and please feel free to type out questions as we go along today. I will try and fit those questions in as we go through, and we'll also make sure to have a little time at the end for a question and answer period. So right now, I am delighted to introduce today's presenters, and I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen so that we can see the two that I want to introduce. Myrna Norman and Craig Burns. Hopefully they're both giving a little wave. They are both members of the Society's leadership group of people living with dementia, and they are both also active and passionate advocates. Like most individuals living with dementia, Craig and Myrna have different living situations, different diagnoses, and different journeys. Craig was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease in 2016, while over the past 13 years, Myrna has received multiple different diagnoses. So welcome very much to you both.
Thank you, Lori.
Yes, thank you, Lori.
You're welcome. And just to identify Craig for everybody, we discovered that I'm not able to change people's names that you type in with. And so Craig today is 5639970. So when you see that, that's actually Craig.
That's my new name.
That's his new name. Yep. Oh, we've just lost your video, Craig.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. So hopefully we'll get Craig back. Yeah, go ahead.
Lori's trying to get Craig back.
Am I back?
Just start. Hi, Craig.
Oh, good. Hi.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Shall we begin?
We
Absolutely.
will begin. I have a number of questions, and I thought I would just dive in. So I'll be asking the two of you to share your experience of having dementia during the holidays, and of course this year with the added little wrinkle of COVID. So do you do anything differently with your holiday planning now than you did before you were diagnosed?
Myrna,
Go ahead, Craig.
Wait, Myrna, you go first. Ladies first.
Here we go.
There we go.
Hugely different. So I was the matriarch of a large family. So I did the dinner, I did the planning, and I loved it. Well, sometimes I got a bit peed off if I didn't have people around to help me. I should be honest. But it was such a special joy to me to do that and to come up with different recipes, and my whole period of time was planning on others having a good time at Christmas, and it was just so heartwarming for me. Then I got a diagnosis of frontal temporal dementia. I was told I had 8 years to live, and that actually was 12 years ago. But because I only had 8 years to live, and we lived in a rather large house with stairs, we made the pretty immediate decision to sell the house, sell the furniture, buy a condo, buy small furniture, turn all the sort of planning, Christmas, etc., over to the children. Although I did manage to keep a Christmas Eve celebration. I was unable to cook any longer because either I left the stove on, I set it on fire, or I totally forgot what was in there. So I was able to still do the sort of planning of the family time, the games, the stories, and all that kind of thing. And the families would come over. I have a daughter that lives in Ontario, and we would bring her in on video, her and her family. So that was a wonderful way to continue to share that. So now we have COVID. Total change again. My husband and I will be having Christmas dinner by ourselves, and we will do the turkey and all the things that go with it. I mean, that's just what you do, right? That's Christmas. We have 2 Christmas trees up in our living room. One is a Grinch tree, one is a standard tree. We're trying to make the best with colors and music and that kind of thing to try and do all we can during this COVID thing. Because it's so difficult, we want to make it the best we can be.
Thanks, Myrna.
Great. Yeah, great. Sorry, it took me a minute to get my mouse on the mute. Craig, what about you?
Well, I'll give you a little bit of context here. I live in Kelowna, and I live on my own. I've lived on my own for about 16 years. My children, I have 2 children. They're both married, and they both have families. My son and daughter-in-law, they live in the Vancouver area. My daughter and my son-in-law live in the Kelowna area here. So it's a little bit different as far as Christmas this year. Generally, I do go over to my daughter's place, and they'll have our immediate family, and then they'll usually have others in as well who maybe live on their own, and they might not have a Christmas setting, and so my daughter and son-in-law will invite them over their place. Now, what we're going to do this year is we're going to listen to and follow Dr. Bonnie Henry as far as what our bubble is going to look like. I anticipate, last couple of years, I'm not the greatest cook. If they tell me to bring something, usually I'll get it at the store, or I might actually cook something up and I'll bring it over. So we kind of bring the food over together. My son-in-law loves to cook the turkey, so he'll be doing that again. I'm anticipating and hopeful that we'll be able to do that. Now, as far as my son and daughter-in-law, generally not able to come up over Christmas, but in January. So it's sort of be a Christmas in December and a little bit of Christmas in January. But we're going to follow what's been instructed to us, and we'll just look positively and enjoy enjoy it all together. However many there are of us. I don't think we're going to do an outside picnic with turkey, but if we had to, we could spend some time outside and maybe play in the snow or something if we do have snow. That's kind of where things are at with us. But it's different. I've scaled down things, and maybe Laura, you're going to ask about this. I'm not sure, but I've scaled down Christmas a bit than I have in past years.
Yeah. So, yeah, I actually, you guys were doing great. You covered a myriad of questions, which is great. So we'll come back a little bit to the COVID, but just generally, Craig, as someone living alone, where do you find support? What do you find helpful?
Oh, well, we all have friends, and some of them have become closer because of living alone. So I do Skype and what do I do? FaceTime. A couple of friends in Ontario. I also have friends in town here, so I'll meet with someone and we'll go for a walk. We'll follow the rules. But my friends have always been important to me, but now they're even more important to me for the social outlet of it. I've just discovered, I think we all have, that we're social people. We knew that, but now we really know it because when we're on our own, we just need more support. We'll probably get into this a little bit more, but I try to take care of my health, and so pretty well every day I'll go for a walk, and I have a general route. I'm sort of a creature of habit. I'll go into an area where it's not a large crowd of people, but there are people around. So I've said to myself, you're not interacting, talking with them, but you're in a social atmosphere. And so I feel better. My spirit feels better. And I like to be around people. I live in Kelowna, so I think it's one of the best places in the world because it's got a beautiful lake. So I'll go for a walk along the lake. I was out there this morning and trying my new face shield on, which is better than my face mask, so my glasses don't fog up. But yes, my friend, I've got about 10 to 12 regular people that I interact with about once every 2 weeks or once a week, something like that.
Great, great. Myrna, how does that fit for you? Like, what do you find helpful, and is anything different than what Craig shared?
Well, I think I see Jim Mann's picture on our screen, and Jim has been involved in numerous activities. And I've taken a page from his book, and I think I'm doing 13 committees, which sometimes I find a bit heavy. If I have 2 or 3 a day, it's a bit much. But you know what? That's what's kept me going. It's been able to interact. I've learned so much. People are so kind, and if I don't know, they teach me what it's about. So my whole thing is to stay socially active. And if I can just read a little thing to you, it's while listening to Dr. Sabat. I don't know if many of you have heard of him, but he's just an incredible speaker about dementia. And my arousal was spiked at a sentence which I carry with me the rest of my life, and I'll share it with any of you that'll listen. He said, among so many other themes, memories are based on emotional incidences. Sometimes it's impossible to remember the exact moment or where or when it happens. However, due to the emotional response in my body, I remember the warmth of the moment, the kindness, the empathy, the understanding, and the granting of my citizenship that person gave me. The tone of the voice directing me, or the visual, their eyes looking directly into my eyes, the soft touch of someone's hand can make the difference in how I might respond to any situation. And their part in this moment will live in my psyche forever. To me, that sums up how important humans are to humans. Nature versus nature nurtures. That's good enough. Nature nurtures because that's what it is, right? That's why we go for a walk. Nature. That's why you walk along that beautiful lake in Kelowna. Yeah, we need people. So if I was asked what's the one thing that has kept you going all these years, it's staying socially active.
Fantastic. Thank you. Myrna, is that a piece that you wrote?
It is
on listening to hearing Dr. Sabat?
Yes, I was at a virtual conference where he spoke, and when I heard that sentence, finally it went click for me, because sometimes if I'm having a bad day, it really depends on my husband's tone of voice. It doesn't matter what he says, it's the tone. Or if I'm downtown and I'm tired and it's the same thing. Somebody might sort of encourage me to be a little faster, but it depends how I hear the tone of their voice. And I think as my journey continues, that's going to be more and more important.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, thank you. Myrna, would it be okay if I, after this, typed out that quote and included it in the recording?
Oh, certainly. I think it's just vital, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you feel, and Craig, this is for both of you, but I'll start with Myrna. You say you keep very, very busy. Do you feel the same positive feedback with all of your committees and social activities, and feel that that's a good substitute for the in-person connection?
Initially, no. Initially, it didn't replace the human-to-human touch, but that's gone over like 8 months now. So it does for me, and I just find the kindness of everybody, and people are willing to talk about the negatives and the positives. And I also believe that if we don't sort of put the negatives behind us when we're expressing ourselves, we need to talk about all phases of our personalities. That's not the right word, but you know what I mean. Um, we need to get rid of those negative things so we can find those positive things. And I think that's really important. Jim and I were actually talking about that this morning, where it's so important to to avail ourselves of all our emotions so that we can then start again. Every day we may need to start again. Hell, we might need to start again 4 times a day, but just keep trucking.
That's awesome. Craig, how about you? Are you finding now you've mentioned that you have connection with several friends. Do you also find that the committees that you're involved in help with that social connection?
Oh, absolutely. Before I did early retirement, my career was in not-for-profit, the not-for-profit sector in management. And so as I've gotten an education, and it's really what I've gotten since I got the diagnosis, and then I accessed the Alzheimer's Society, which I should mention here. I accessed the Alzheimer's Society a few years ago because my mother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. When she was diagnosed, she was 79. I was her caregiver for 10 years. She died at the age of 90. But when I was diagnosed, where did I go first? I came to the Alzheimer's Society. This is not a free advertisement for them. It's only to say
it's okay.
I came to them because I was in need. And I knew from my experience with my mom and how much they had helped her out and the resources that that's where I needed to go first. So I did. And then I'm not one to sit around, and I didn't really want my brain to kind of go numb or kind of like nothing to do. So I asked about a certain committee, and they said, yeah, that might be a good idea. So I got onto this leadership committee. Then, of course, I accessed, and they told me about other organizations, and one could keep busy all the time, and I can't do that. I can only bite off so much. Otherwise, I just my anxiety level just goes way too high, and I get all bent out of shape because I got to go online here and try and stick handle this and that. So I can only handle so many. But I've chosen different organizations because of my interests in them. I am involved in a clinical drug trial, and so I'm interested in research, and so I've accessed the Canadian Consortium on Neurological Aging. How's that for a long title?
Good. Wow.
Yeah, I did it. And I'm learning. I'm not only learning, but I'm contributing. I'm also, I'm quite, one word is concerned, but I'm also, I'm interested because I want to make sure that those who are going through dementia and those who may be seniors or elder law, and I'm getting involved in the organization for elder law because it's partly for my benefit, but it's also that I see it very important to help people to stick handle things so that things don't go sideways when they're dealing with their dementia. And I'm not really explaining it the best way possible, but I find that, and I haven't stopped learning. I want to keep learning. I want to still contribute to people. I also want people to let people know that, people with dementia, we don't just sit on the couch and watch the tube. We're active. We're involved. We haven't lost our intellect. I've lost quite a bit of short-term memory lately. I'm not happy about it. I'm kind of a perfectionistic person, and so when that happens, I'm not happy, and I'm not happy with. But I still have lots to offer, just like my people here. Myrna, Jim, I don't know who else is on the line here that has dementia as well. Both of these folks, and they didn't ask me for free advertising. I've learned so much from Jim, and I've learned so much from Myrna. And Lori, remind us before we finish today, we must talk about Myrna's new book. So
Yes,
we don't need to
I
talk
have
about
it
that
in my
today.
notes.
Okay, good. Because
Thank you.
I'm waiting for my copy to come in the mail. I ordered it just the other night, and so it's going to be my Christmas read. Okay.
Oh, that's
Check is in the
fantastic.
mail.
Yeah.
I know it is. Yeah.
Actually, it makes sense, just even though I was going to bring it around, but this is the opportune time. Myrna, tell us a little about your book.
Well, let me go to something that Craig said. When we have these lapses, and mine have been coming a little bit more frequently, I can't remember 5 or 10 minutes ago, that's just gone. And I used to, when I misnamed things, I would at least have them on the same, like I might call the fireplace a furnace, and I might call the microwave a stove, but I was in the same neighborhood. Now, hell, it's just not. I asked Dave, can you fix the ladder? Well, he's looking for the ladder because I mean the fireplace. Like, who doesn't know that? So our caregivers have to be investigators, and it doesn't get a whole lot better. We just have to learn ways to cope. But we also need to maintain our dignity and our productivity while we're doing this. Mm-hmm. Dorothea LeClaire, somebody that used to work for Alzheimer's BC, would often say to a support group I was involved in that we all have a committee of jerks in our heads willing to berate us for any and sometimes all the foibles we make in our journey. And isn't that the truth? I mean, I could go to a support group and tell everybody 5 times not to berate themselves and go home and look in the mirror and say, why did you say that? Why did you do that? You know, like it's really hard to maintain that forgiveness of ourselves, I think. We want ourselves to do really well. We expect ourselves to do really well. And then bizarre things happen. I never slept last night. Like, how can you not sleep? Like, that's just nuts. What do you do? There's nobody to talk to. It's just crazy, but it's just one of those kinds of things that happen. And we just have to find a way to accept it and move on to the next street. Oh, and my book, sorry. A couple of those things were things I read to you on my book. It's called Dementia Strategies, Tips, and Personal Stories. I wrote it in a couple months. I had wanted to, I've been writing blogs for 100 years, well, maybe 3 years. And I wanted to put all the blogs in order and write them in the book, but I don't have that organizational capacity anymore. I've lost that, so I'm not going to fight myself and try and do that. So I put in this book just the kinds of things that have happened to me, brushing my teeth with hair remover. Like, you know, we do those kinds of things. So this is the book, and I'm really proud of it. I've had to order a second printing because I only have a few left. It's not an academic book. It's just me talking. And I told the publishers I didn't want them to change the language, and I wanted the big font because they wanted it smaller. I said, I just want this to be me talking, not somebody else's expertise. So it's not my expertise, it's just my feelings. For those of you that heard of, have you heard of Mac Demera? He's a gentleman who has Lewy body, and he lives in Torbay, England, and he started Purple Angels. And I have a poem of his in here. I talked to him, and he said he'd be honored if I put a poem in his book. And so there's wonderful things. As well, I'll be brief here. I wanted to say that Alzheimer's BC was sort of my second call. I think medical doctors have done us a huge disservice. And there's many that might disagree with me, but that's my opinion. I'll stick through it The other thing is Dementia Advocacy Canada is another new Canadian group. They've been around for a couple of years, and they're trying to make some political changes as well as community changes. And I see groups beginning to work together now instead of three groups working to the same end. Groups are now beginning to work together, and we can achieve things that way. And I'll get off my soapbox.
Oh, that's just excellent. Myrna, I'm just typed out the name of it, and somebody already asked, how can people order your book?
So I don't know how to do the putting it in a store thing yet. So if you want to order it, just send me an email, the.normans@shaw.ca, and I'll answer you back. Or my husband will.
And just to add, it's $20 for the book, and then it's $5 for postage, right?
Yeah,
So,
if you're not local. Yeah.
Yeah, local, yeah.
Okay, I'm just putting all that in the chat box. So email is the.normans@shaw.ca.
And your check is in the mail, Lori.
My check is in the mail. Yes, very shortly. Yeah, congratulations. That's a wonderful, wonderful accomplishment. It's kind of funny. The next question on my list, you've both answered fulsomely in lots of ways, but I want to ask it anyway because I want to target it. How do you live well with dementia? And Craig, I'm going to toss it over to you first.
Okay. I'm hopeful that I'm living as well as I can. I'm always certainly always new to new ideas, new methods, that kind of thing. But once I was diagnosed, I looked at my diet, which wasn't particularly bad. I did some reading. I try to stay on a modified Mediterranean diet. So I haven't. I'm less active as far as doing stuff. I haven't gained a lot of weight, and that's not always just the indicator. But anyways, I do that. I mentioned the walking. I do that pretty well every day. That helps. Like, I've always enjoyed walking, but now I find with dementia, and I'm not diagnosing this, but I have found that my time to walk, watch people, but think through things, it's medicinal for me. It really is. It really helps me to just sort out some things. I talk to myself. I know that's weird, but I talk to myself. I don't talk out loud. And I just find that very helpful. Music, I was a musician a number of years ago. I love music. I love most genres of music. There's not too many that I don't enjoy. Music is medicine to my soul. I have iTunes. When I'm in the house and I don't have the TV on, which is probably a good thing, and I'm doing stuff, I'll put the music on. Depends on what I like. That's very helpful for me as well. So I'm trying to stay healthy. I try not to bother my GP. I sometimes think that my GP thinks that I'm a hypochondriac or something like that. No, but I kind of agree. It's a big generalization. I do agree with you, Myrna, that I don't think the medical community has helped us very much, because when I went first to the doctor and said, I've got some real memory problems. Oh, it's most likely stress. And a 10-minute interview or a 10-minute consultation, just how do you discover that? So I had to be persistent. Anyways, so I stay in touch with the medical community. I'm involved in this clinical trial, which it went for 3 years, and my status as far as their measurements, their testing, I stayed at the same level. It stopped for a year. Now it's been restarted 6 months ago. I'm not at the same level that I was then, according to their testing, which I'm not happy about, but I'm trying to assist others by being in the clinical trial. Now, obviously, I'm trying to help myself with this potential drug treatment. I expect that drug treatment to come on the market within a year. We shall see. As Mother used to say, we'll see what happens there. So that's kind of what I do, and my social interaction and my committee work. That's what keeps me, and my grandchildren, my children and my grandchildren, they keep me the joy in my life to see them as much as I can, because they're young, they're vibrant, everything's new, everything's a new experience for those. The oldest one is 10, so what are they? They're 10, 8, two 6-year-olds and a 2-year-old. So they just keep me going. I can only handle so much of them at a time. If I'm in the same house there's one household with 4 kids. I can't stay in the house with 4 kids too long. It's just too much activity, and my anxiety level goes too high. But they keep me young. That's kind of where I'm at.
Fantastic, fantastic. Myrna, what about you? How do you live well with dementia?
So first of all, I took a course called Understanding Dementia from the University of Tasmania in New Zealand, or in Tasmania. You guys can figure that out.
Australia.
And it was a very, very, very good course, and I learned a lot. So I would recommend everyone take that. It's free. It takes about 6 weeks. You can go at your own pace, but it's really worthwhile doing it. Music, I think, is the thing to do. I just got a grant from the government to purchase a bunch of MP3 players for people with dementia, and we're going to have their families input their music, not somebody else's, their music. And I understand in England that they're even using it in ambulances because it helps people calm down. Staffing levels have become level because people with dementia are so much calmer. And the funny thing I wanted to say, I don't know how many of you are still we're not in support groups, but used to be in support groups. When I first started, and that's early stage dementias, we used to teach each other the answers to the tests on the Montreal, the tests that the neurologists give you. We used to teach each other the answers. And I remember telling my neurologist that we did that, and she couldn't believe it. And I said, well, of course we do. We want everybody to succeed. So they changed the test at some point along the way. But isn't that a funny thing that we were, that was early stage where we were still sort of thinking that we were really helping each other by doing that.
Oh, that's fantastic. There's a question has come in that's just perfect right now, and that's how have you guys, or have you had to deal with anyone who refuses? So it's sort of 2 aspects. People who refuse to accept that you have a diagnosis of dementia, and conversely, those who don't believe themselves they have a diagnosis of dementia. So let's start first with how have you dealt with people who just can't accept that you have dementia? Myrna, I'll start with you.
That's tough, but I can tell you that I used to have this exercise group maybe a year or so ago at the local hospital, and everybody in this group knew I had dementia, but they still wanted me to sort of do my part in the leader thing. And then group members would come and go, so it wasn't always the same group. And I remember this time, sometimes I have trouble counting. I might go 1, 2, 7. I know I made a mistake, but just let it go and we'll continue. And so I was doing the counting for some exercise, and the man next to me said, "What the hell's wrong with you? Have you got dementia?" And I was so terribly wounded. And I'm quite an outspoken person generally, but I was so wounded. I left immediately and I never returned. Oh. They phoned me a number of times to say, we heard what happened. We heard him. He's not here anymore. La, 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 la. But it was just, he wounded my soul.
Mm-hmm. Myrna, I'm so grateful that you share those kinds of stories, because we all learn how much those flippant comments how much they can mean. Thank you for sharing.
Mm.
Craig, have you had anyone who refused to accept that you have dementia?
I wouldn't say refuse. I would say when I'm interacting with people, I don't necessarily bring the subject up, but if it's relevant and wherever the setting is, and I say that I have dementia, and people look at me and go, "Well, you look fine," and I say, "Well, thank you. I appreciate that." And then I delve a little bit more. I try to be as firm and gentle as I can, and I'll start with this. I'll say, "Well, you may be thinking of maybe an individual who might be well into dementia, maybe into the third, what I would say is the third stage, and maybe they're living in a care home, and they've lost a fair amount of capacity." I said, that's generally what I find that people will think of when they think of someone with dementia. But I say to them, it starts somewhere. It starts somewhere. And I said, if I have more chance to chat with them and they want to chat somewhere, I'll talk to them about my mom and how we discovered and when I phoned up her doctor and I said, "There's some really odd things happening with my mom," and he said, "Well, she's in the first stage of dementia." Now I held my tongue and I wanted to say, "Well, why didn't you tell me?" But I didn't. But anyways, I learned a lot from my mom. So that's generally how I'll enter the conversation. I've never had anybody refuse. I've had people that have told Alzheimer's jokes in front of me, which was very offensive. I lost a friend through that because I said to this person, do you think that's funny? And anyways, we had a little bit more of a conversation, and that friendship disintegrated after that. So I don't want to give the impression that I'm overly sensitive, but I just find that people that tell dementia jokes or Alzheimer's jokes, they just need to be more of an adult, be more mature. I could say some other things, but I won't. But be mature, please, and please don't offend us. And Myrna, I'm also very hurt that happened to you. That's very unfortunate.
Yeah.
But that's kind of, Lori, that's how I kind of deal with it. And yeah, I was just at a professional yesterday at a clinic, and he was asking me back and forth about my dementia. And he says, "Well, you look really good." And I said, "Well, thanks very much. I really appreciate that." He didn't question it, but he just said, "So I'm glad that." Sure. Well, hopefully, I'm not 30. I'm not in my 30s anymore. I'm in my 60s. So, but okay. So I look good. Great.
Yeah.
I don't know what not looking great looks like.
And I really like how both of you mention that how often when people are talking about dementia and talking about Alzheimer's disease, it's, well, you look fine.
Mm-hmm.
And I know over the years, many have shared with us how challenging that type of comment is, because inevitably you want to engage in the conversation. Well, what does dementia look like?
Yeah.
And I really appreciate how both of you are willing to engage in those conversations. Somebody has let me know that they have a business card that they would give out, and it reminds me of the video with Jim with the little card that says, "I have dementia, thank you for your patience," and how valuable that is. Myrna, you had something.
This is meant to be funny, tongue-in-cheek funny. I was at my city doctor's evening. They do it once a month or something, and there's a good feed on, and occasionally they invite people from outside the sort of medical practice. And this was supposed to be a discussion about dementia. One doctor came up to me in sort of halftime and said, "God, you don't look like you have dementia." And I said, "And you don't look like a doctor." Like, it was cheeky. But, sometimes we need to make the point. If we can do it without being horribly rude, it's an important point to make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jim just shared it that he had a doctor at a conference say he knew that Jim didn't have dementia, didn't have Alzheimer's. And when Jim asked him why, the doctor said, well, look at how well you're dressed.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, dear.
So I'm so delighted to have you guys on this today because it's so important to help everyone feel more comfortable, everyone learn what dementia looks like. Really, really appreciate that. So just as we're getting towards the end, what would you like to share with families who are affected by dementia as they head into the holiday season? And Myrna, you happen to be up on my screen, so we'll start with you.
Okay, so I prepared for this. This last bit. And I wanted to start off by saying COVID has really caused us a lack of freedom, and particularly for those of us with dementia, it's added another sort of layer on top. I've always felt a bit melancholy at Christmas. And so adding COVID without having my family close by, it just makes me aware that I need to find things to do to sort of overcome that and make Christmas what I want it to be. So I want to say that caregivers, and I'm sure there's a lot here, need to involve the person with dementia in all the plans. Don't say, do you want to do this or do you want to do that? Because sometimes it's hard for, I'm going to speak for myself, sometimes it's hard for me to make a black and white decision like that. But if you can sort of talk around it and suggest we could do things and we could do this and that and try and find out what the person with dementia would like to do. So that's a real emotional bond by doing that. And that keeps the person with dementia feeling that they're still part of the family, because you know what? They are still part of the family. Going outdoors every day for a walk, nature nurtures. It's really important. And sometimes it's damn tough to get out there. And I can swear because I have dementia. It's damn hard sometimes to get out there. And I use my dementia now. Oh, look at him plugging his ears. Have the person with dementia participate in some Christmas things like you can make the dough for cookies and the person with dementia can cut them out, and depending how far the progression is, they can paint them. We could make paper chains. Remember like when we were in school and we used colored paper? Those are really fun to make. We could cut out snowflakes, although I was never good at that. But I'm sure that there's a lot of you there that can cut out snowflakes to put on your window. So bring Christmas sort of back to not being a thing we're watching, but a thing we're participating in. Make sure there's quiet activities like looking at the family album. Do some artwork. You know, you can buy what are they called? The things you paint on?
Canvas.
A canvas. You can buy a canvas and paints and a paintbrush for $10. A person with dementia can paint. Painting and all artwork is one of the ways to help us express ourselves. Keep everyday routines similar. So if you have breakfast, lunch, and dinner at the same time, try and keep all those things as close as you can. Make sure you get adequate rest. Music. There's a couple of really good places that you can download music. BBC Music Memories. I would just love to be there right now. Doesn't it sound wonderful? There's another place called, you'd have to look it up online. It's called Playlist for Life. Doesn't that sound wonderful? I would be the CCR girl on that one. An art collage, my memories, my house of memories. some magazines or some pictures from online or whatever, cut them up and make a collage about your house of memories. Put those things that were important to you when you were a little kid. I always got a hairbrush. Always, always, always. So that would be on my list of memories. And my dog would be on those memories. And the Christmas tree with those bubble lights. Remember those bubble lights? They were so fun, weren't they?
Those.
Yeah. Make sure you do some exercising kind of activities like block building. And you can do it with cups, right? Those red plastic cups that our older grandchildren used for a game that they put booze in and try and drink it really fast. We can just use those cups for building towers. We'll show them. And maybe tossing bean bags into buckets, just so that we keep moving. It's so easy to become used to our chair. Go ahead, Craig.
Oh, okay. You'll remember, I don't know all of you online here, but remember this acronym, KISS? Drop the S at the end, and let's just say, keep it simple as far as the Christmas traditions, because I don't know of any other holiday season, we'll call it. For some it may be Christmas, for others it may be a different tradition. But Christmas is sort of the big one of the year. It's the big one, and I'm speaking to those with dementia, and I'm speaking to those who are caring for those with dementia. Sometimes it can get pretty overwhelming when it's such a big deal. Now, we probably won't have big groupings in our homes because of COVID, so that's okay. But let's just filter through and think it through, and let's keep it simple, especially for the person who has dementia. You may find, and I find this when I'm over with my kids, I'm enjoying my time, and then I kind of withdraw. I kind of go silent. I kind of go quiet. And that's okay. You know, I'm still alive. I'm still fine. But it's a sort of a sign of being overwhelmed by by all the activity, especially when there's little kids around who just have got ants in their pants, and they're just goofing around and they're running around and all that kind of stuff. So that's just my first thing there. So with the bigness of Christmas, maybe let's focus on the things that bring happiness and not so many activities. Let's let go of some of the things that are overwhelming or stressful. Think that through. Think that through as far as the things that you do. So because you want it to be fun, you want it to be joyful, you want there to be a bond with everyone, but we want as many people as possible to enjoy that event or those events. You know, if it doesn't go right, I try to do this. I kind of like let it go. If it doesn't go right, if the turkey's not great, you know, somebody forgot the cranberry sauce, or oops, or something went wrong, just let it go. It's not a big deal. Everything doesn't need to be perfect. Now, and my last comment is this: we've got a month before Christmas, and we're probably not going to have big gatherings. But if you're going to have some family over, maybe send them a text or an email or a letter, and if things have changed, especially if you're the caregiver or the care partner, and things have changed for the one that you love, the one who has dementia, maybe just send a little note and say, I'm writing to let you some things to let you know, things that have changed in our home. Just give them a heads up as far as maybe modifying things and scaling it down a bit. I'm not trying to make it boring. I'm just trying to say, let's try and make it the best for everybody concerned. My last comment is this: if you're a caregiver or you're a care partner, you are valued, you are loved, you are appreciated. You don't always get that appreciation from the one that you love, the one with dementia. They don't always say it to you. And you feel sometimes like, I'm just going. When do I get a break? Well, I want to let you know, I hope all of us want to say to you today, enjoy Christmas and don't be overwhelmed, and know that you are thanked and you are valued. Okay, thanks.
Craig, thank you so much. That was just beautiful. What a lovely, lovely way to finish up. There are a couple of questions coming in. I will put the phone number for the First Link Dementia Helpline into the chat box while Myrna and Craig are answering questions. I see a question. Do you have any suggestions for people living with dementia, or for people who are going to visit people living with dementia who are living in long-term care? Oh, Myrna, you're muted.
We
There we
have
go.
people from all over Canada here. Montreal is here. It's just wonderful that you've all come. What I want to say about long-term care is that I was at a meeting with Isabel McKenzie. She's our British Columbia seniors advocate. And she was talking about caregivers' rights. And I probably shouldn't go into this, but I'm going to anyway. You know, there's essential visitors to be allowed into long-term care, but some long-term care facilities are not allowing that. Push the button. Demand. If you fit the criteria, demand that. I can't imagine what it's like for any of you who has somebody that you love in long-term care and you can't do anything about it. It must be just devastating. And so advocate on behalf of that person.
Thank you, Myrna. Craig, anything to add?
Oh, it's such a big subject, and
Yeah, it really is.
the only thing I would say, and I'll go, and thank you, Myrna, especially on that aspect. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I'm more thinking. I'm going to go on this track as far as if you're the care partner, the caregiver, you're going in to see the one with dementia, and I don't know what state. If they're in long-term care, then they're at a certain stage. They may not be fully aware of everything that's going on. I'm making a big, broad generalization. I don't want to peg anybody at any certain point. They may not realize. I'm just reflecting back on with my mom in terms of they may not realize what this season is or what all is. There will be decorations all around, I'm sure, in that facility, which will be reminders. Just enjoy what you can. And that's to maximize it, not to minimize it. I don't say it to minimize it. Enjoy what you can with your loved one. Don't necessarily expect that they will be fully on track with everything that's going on about Christmas, because they may not. So, because see, part of it's for you and part of it's for them. So enjoy what you receive and don't expect too much. I guess that's the only way I can say it.
Fantastic. Thank you, Craig. That's very powerful and fits so well with your idea of just let it go. I'm really going to take that. I like that a lot. Are there any books that would be recommended for that you two or anyone would recommend for caregivers and loved ones to understand and to best support them? And that person followed up and says, of course, Myrna's, I've noted.
I'm not too much up on the books. I need to get an education on what books are available as far as the caregiving aspect. So I'm drawing a blank. My apologies.
There's a lot of books out there. I don't know how many of you have heard of Kate Swaffer. She actually speaks regularly at United Nations and at the World Health Organization. And she has dementia. I think she's about 10 years in. She's out of Australia. She's written a couple of books. They're very good. And you know that book about, let me think now, the girl, oh, I'm sorry, I'm screwing it up. The one they made the movie about.
Still Alice?
Still Alice. That's a good book to get an idea. It's not exactly the way it goes, but who can say how it goes? We're all different. And I think that's kind of a good one to sort of get your teeth into. There's actually a few books out there. Christine Thelker has recently written a book called Grateful, and that might be one you'd enjoy reading. So Grateful by Christine Thelker.
Yeah, I think it's, you're right, Myrna. I think it's For This I Am Grateful. And,
yes, that's right.
And I've read it, and it's done in a mode of journaling. It's journaling through a period of time for Christine. You'll find it quite insightful. Yeah, I would agree. Good book.
Wonderful. Well, I honestly, I could go on for another 20 minutes just reading out all the thanks to you. So I will certainly pass those along by email. I'm ever so grateful to have had the two of you on today, and look forward very much to having at least twice a year a lived experience webinar. So thank you both very much. Thank you to everyone who participated. Please do fill in our survey, and I look forward to talking again, and have a good holiday season, everyone.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank
Laurie.
you. You're welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Merry Christmas. Ho, ho, ho.
Oh, oh.
Indeed. Bye.